Hi, I'm Margie Holmes, psychologist, author, and educator. Today's topic is on Filipino-Foreign relationships. You know, we got so many questions and so many comments about this discussion that we decided to focus on foreign men with Filipinas and Filipinos as partners. You'll notice that the foreigner is always the male, with the partner, the Filipina, if it's a heterosexual relationship, or Filipino, if it's a homosexual relationship. Also, many of the comments and questions came from Filipinos, Filipinas, and foreigners who had Brits, Americans, or Germans as the ones who are the foreigners, okay? So the first question that was asked is, why have a foreign partner in the first place? For this, I want to thank not only for the question, but also for the many answers they gave. I would like to thank Nikki Madel, Francisco Costa Cuento, Jeruel Danera, Miss Oison, May Magsino, Carol Colburn, Rica Palomo Espirito, Lovi Villacrucis, Ruth Soldevilla, and Rina Romero. So, some of the reasons for this, some of the reasons Filipinas and Filipinos chose a male foreign partner are, number one, there is very little throwing back of the past. Many of the Filipinas and Filipinos had experiences with their Filipino boyfriends. Throwing back the past, ikaw, hindi ka na naman virgin eh. Yung naano ka, nagamit ka na. And very, very few of the foreigners did that. Number two, there is no need to kowtow to the foreign's family. Naku, nahirapan ang marami-raming mga Filipino partners, lalo na if they're with their Filipino boyfriends, were mama's boys. And we know that a lot of Filipinos are mama's boys, no? Not naman all of them, but a lot. Number three, to the foreigner, your family and the, in quotes, bad things they did are not such a big issue. So if you have a brother who is bipolar, schizophrenic, or an ex-thief, the foreigner will still marry you. They don't make such a big deal na, ay naku, nasa lahi yan, wag mo na siyang pakasalan. Number four, very interesting, very few women said this, but still it's a point, is that there is no divorce if your partner is Filipino. However, if you marry a foreigner and there is divorce in his country, and you divorce him or he divorces you in another country that recognizes the divorce, then you as a Filipina are free to remarry. And you know, that can be a very big deal, a good big deal, I hope. Number four, Sigrid Salukop says, I only had 2 Filipino boyfriends, the rest were foreigners. I value my independence, and my experience with my Filipino boyfriends made it impossible for me to reconcile this with my sense of independence. I always had to explain to them where I went, where I was going, what I'm going to do next, etc. Who I was with as if they needed to monitor me. These were the Filipino men, okay? Anonymous says, I've had a relationship with a Filipino guy before, and the first thing he did was to make sure he could manipulate me into working for his whims and obeying him. He wanted to create a new me to conform with his fantasy and illusion of a perfect, old-fashioned partner that he and his ancient, ugly family wanted to have. Remember, I'm just quoting. Anyway, he's still having those delusions till now and still depends on his parents and sisters for everything. Thank God we broke up. Another anonymous person said, thank God I got my American doctor who gives me the chance to succeed in my business, goes the extra mile to make sure we understand each other. Rica Palomo Espiritu says, foreigners are more upfront. Di pwede yung pakipot, especially when it comes to making tampo. I learned to articulate what I think and what I felt, and to say it upfront. It wasn't just in feelings and thoughts, but sexually too. In a way, he helped me in all the relationships I had after that. Now, I am not saying it's much better, but sharing house chores and being treated with respect, especially if you're separada, is something you can find with a foreigner. Of course, there is always a bad apple among the foreigners. But generally speaking, Anonymous says, I've seen a lot more respect and caring going on with fil-am relationships than with local couples. This is especially true if they're much older, especially if the man is older and the female is much younger. Another anonymous says, I'm engaged to an American and it's blissful. No BS, doc. It's liberating and I never felt that I'm being judged if our point of views differ. I just have to be myself. My boyfriend accepts my shortcomings and respects the things that I strongly believe in. In a way, mas Pinoy pa siya sa akin. Hehe. Now, Rochi Tanyada, who works with a lot of Filipinos engaged in or with foreign partners, says, since the foreigners fend for themselves at a very young age, they usually talk about jobs and additions. And the first time, I was awed. I said, ang hirap pala kaagad ng buhay nila. Kung may napiling gawin, grabe ang disiplina sa iba-iba yung outlook and EQ because they have to fend for themselves. Matanda na sila agad compared to the 20-somethings here. So, ang daming mapag-uusapan, hindi ka na nag-effort, maghalukay pa. And, you know, that's very, very nice for the Filipinas, okay? Hannah Isberto said, I found my 2 American boyfriends more appreciative than Pinoy men, more appreciative of women who freely express their opinions and sexuality. So yes, they are both liberating experiences. I do agree with Christine Gailican that it's difficult to generalize, but I admit that I think the Pinoy male lover is attached to his patriarchal past. Now, another woman said, Filipinas want a foreign boyfriend? Why? Because Filipino men of lower socioeconomic status rely on women for money to live. There are some exceptions, of course, but very rare. So cheers to Filipinas who choose foreign men, as long as the situation is okay, right? That they don't choose the foreign men only for money. May Magsino says, the Filipino family's culture looks down on women. You can see it in every family as men would always want their wives to bear them a son, someone to continue the family name. The son would always get what he wants. He doesn't do any housework. Malu S. Marin says, in our interviews with Pinay domestics abroad, they preferred foreign boyfriends because pag Pinoy daw ang karelasyon nila, they ended up spending for the guy rather than the other way around. Good point. I'd actually be interested to hear opinions if it involves same-sex relationships naman. And I hope those in same-sex relationships will write and tweet us more in the future, okay? Another thing that draws us Filipina girls to foreigners is their innate want for our children to have that pointy nose, those deep-set eyes, white skin, and tall height. Admit it or not, we've been indoctrinated by our conquistadores that the Caucasian look is beautiful and our own Asian features are not. However, hopefully in the future, this will change more and more, okay? But since that's the reality and we like to tell the truth here, walang bolahan talaga, we have to say how people feel now, whether it's politically correct or not. So thank you very much, May. Sigrid Salukop says, some Filipino guys are nice, though at the core of it, I feel they want the tahimik type, whether they admit it or not. And tahimik, I am not. I also found it easier to relate to Europeans because I get a kick out of their jokes. Most jokes I heard from Filipino suitors are either unfunny, disgusting, or just a plain rehash of what they saw on TV. And yes, I know there are intelligent Filipino men. However, their humor is just blah. I like the jokes that show how well-read a person is. Jokes that show that someone there is someone who thinks the way I do. Pero totoo nga ba yun? We're having another episode on that about Filipinos called The Great Thing About Filipino Partners. And I hope a lot of you tweet, a lot of you Facebook, a lot of you email me. Now, last but not least, why do we choose or why do some women choose and some men choose foreign partners? Now, don't be angry, ha? I am just the messenger. But one person said, in a nutshell, it's an upgrade mentally, sexually, emotionally, socially, and financially to have a foreign boyfriend instead of a Filipino boyfriend. Ang sakit, ano? Okay, so Filipino men, be alert. Our next episode is bakit ang sarap-sarap magkaroon ng Filipino partner.